And so let me share, oopsie, the screen. And I'll share also the meeting agenda. Oh, nice. Thank you, Moritz, for the Scrum Poker. So,
can somebody please share the Scrum Poker link?
It's already in the.
Oh, sorry, thanks.
Okie dokie. So 1 second that I tried to reorganize my screen. Sorry for the bad preparation, but nothing was working. Let's jump here. Perfect. Okie dokie. So let's start with a list of tickets that we have open for today. The first one is from Florian about small improvements for the validation webhook.
Exactly, yeah. Because in the webhook, we already have a logic that checks for the maximum length of a name for an app. But of course, it's also possible for users to create the Keptn application custom resource themselves. And here we don't check for any name length. And this is a potential for errors because what the app controller will do is it will create an application version which whose name is based off concatenation of several properties of that Keptn application. And that means that if theoretically the name of the Keptn app already is equal or at least close to the allowed 253 characters which are allowed for customer or for Kubernetes resources in general, then we will have an error that the Keptn app version cannot be created. And yeah, I think this is something that can be countered if we check for that restriction as early as possible. So therefore, my suggestion for validating webhook.
But instead of pushing towards the user to make sure that the length of the name is in a good range, can't we, when we create the Keptn app version, trim the name?
I also thought of that, but this might be tricky because in the workloads, we also refer to an app. And I think here we do look for a matching Keptn app version to check whether a workload can enter its deployment phase. So maybe this also works, but would require more effort and should at least be considered as well. Yeah.
Because of a problem that if we require the user to know the right size for the name, most likely they will never discover the problem. Maybe let's add instance or workload?
The workload instance controller. I'm currently looking for the exact place where this will likely need to be adjusted. Okay, so after you have saved that, I will add the link to the piece of code that needs to be double checked.
Thank you. Okay, it's saved. And thank you for adding the piece of code. Now I have an issue. Let's estimate where we do the alternative first, which is more user-friendly. And if this doesn't work, then we do the length check. This should be the complexity to estimate. Or do you have any other questions for this topic, Tim?
So we are estimating alternative first?
No, both.
Both.
We estimate that you need to do the alternative, and if it doesn't work, you do the length check.
Okay.
Can we write them opposite?
Yes.
I would try the first and then do the alternative.
Okay. Anna, do you need further input to estimate, or?
I'm undecided. I will.
Oh, strong opinion for S, Moritz.
No, it's fine.
And I saw that Rakshit already announced his interest. So if it's fine for everyone, we can assign it to him.
I just assigned him.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are you happy with that, Rakshit, or?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to you. Perfect. Then remove the label. Thanks to remove also the label. Now, second one, you fixed the title. Anna, for which reason we want to have a cattle test for Jaeger?
This was a bit of a generic ticket, sorry. Flo realized while we were doing some verification of the examples that actually we had an issue with the matrix operator, that at the restart was not working anymore, basically. And we realized we have no test that has this kind of complex scenario. I now introduced a test that restarts the operator, but it may be nice if we either have something that checks the traces or all of this server things we have going on in more complex scenario than just it's on and it works.
That's tough because
I know.
Jaeger, it's a real implementation. Therefore, we need to configure the collector
But this doesn't have to be Jaeger, it can be a mock server where we have expectation of how it has to look like.
It would be interesting to try tracer test for this, but I think it's an overkill.
Yeah, I maybe phrased it wrong. I think the thing is we don't ever check any scenario apart from KLT is installed and everything works fine in the integration tests, and that's how we didn't figure out this other problem.
Let's say we're not very confident when it comes to updating dependencies for, like, example, Jaeger or the OpenTelemetry collector. So currently this requires a manual test to see if the traces are still working.
What Flo said.
Shall we introduce a new test suite for E2E tests?
Yes, I would say. Which is run on main nightly build, something like that. Because I think this might be heavy. So at the moment I will keep it manual run. And afterwards, after we see how this end-to-end test looks like, we can define the pipeline now. Technical details here. Probability. Need to produce new test suite that verifies that we correctly expose metrics. Nah, yeah, nah, yeah, nah, yeah, nah. Just traces for first.
We have something for metrics more or less.
There is tracer test mock service that simulates the collector. And we don't have a research label. I will keep this as a research, so no estimation required since it's pretty blurry. What should be done? And I would suggest that the goal of this ticket
Can you maybe add research to the heading or something that it's clear?
Yeah. And also at the moment, the goal should be just to document how the end-to-end test should look like. And then we can create a follow-up ticket to implement that so we can properly estimate. And write the follow-up ticket to implement it. Why I'm saving? All good with that, or do you have a different opinion? Nice. Okie dokie. Then last ticket of today.
This is a bit older already, but I dug it up recently when I went through all our issues that we have and added them ready for refinement level. I think this would be valuable to implement. So basically what Thomas wants here is
Yes,
some
not
error
just a
events.
log line.
Yeah, something to make it easier to debug metrics that are not configured correctly.
Instead of an event, would it be more fitting to put something in the status of the resource?
Exactly. My issue with event is this is a periodic task. So periodically we will emit the same event. I see why he wants an event to integrate better with what is it called? Kate's GPT. But I think an event is a bit of an overkill here since we present logs, which are events basically. So maybe we can introduce a feature flag for this. Report metrics error as events.
That's a good idea.
I see one good. Moritz and Flo are more towards not really.
I'd rather have it just out of the box, honestly.
We have a retry count. We could add something more for the failure also in the state. Like failure reason or something.
But the retry count is on evaluations. This is a little bit different. It's Keptn metrics. It's fetching basically the data from ETUs, for example, forever. If you have a fetch interval 5 seconds, every 5 seconds, in case of a failure, it will send an event.
Yeah, that's why I would prefer to store it in the state of the resource.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but enabling an event as a feature flag, why not? If the user wishes to do it, but
Because this would scream events every few seconds, polluting all of the other events and making it unreadable.
The only reason why we don't provide a log message for this is because that's already polluted, right?
Yeah.
We provide
So-
a log message
Okay,
for
but
the other sources. Yeah.
Maybe we do, but nobody will find it.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
already polluted, so maybe let's not pollute the next thing.
In my mind, the event stream should be for anything that crashes the controllers. Not if the matrix is not there, that it's not something that should be propagated.
yeah, it's Keptn metric controller, basically.
No, because the controller is not failing, it's just the metric is shit.
Yeah.
It's not a controller problem.
So Kubernetes API concepts, events, where is it? There is none. Do they have any recommendation for when an event should exist? A fair point, because there are
State of the change of the state.
limited retention. So
Action.
there is no issue with having too many events since Kubernetes does the handling by itself. I will say we try to change the system because we want to store something in the status field of the CRD. It failed, so I see the point.
But I think usually you would then have a backup interval. Like if you think of pods not being able to be scheduled, you would have a backup.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't actually pollute periodically.
But Kubernetes does filtering and merging of events. So if we emit the same event over and over and over, it would be just a single event and the count will be increased.
And last seen information when the event is.
Let's go with the event, and then if it's too much, we can always remove it. Contrary opinion for this? Now it's your time to speak.
My understanding is Kubernetes API releases an event if there is a change in the state of the pods. So this is once. If it's failed, it's not that you have 2 billion times. Pod is failing, pod is crashing.
You see exactly the count of that event increasing though.
Yeah.
And
Would
if
that
we will
be the
emit,
same case for us?
if we emit the same event over and over, let's say that the fetch interval here is 1 second. So every second we emit the same exact event.
And the counter
Every
increases?
second the counter will increase.
Okay, then.
Then let's restart. Okie dokie, no things here. Any topic from the team or from the chat? Don't forget to add your name here to the list. I also thought of that. Okie dokie. Then if there are no more topics, I will say thank everyone and I have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Me too. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you.
you
Bye.
tomorrow at the community meeting.